got any stories that you wish could have turned out better with kids?
I got a funny story, the funniest one ever. I was a headmaster at Ovilla Christian School when one of my teachers brought her either 4-year-old or 5-year-old into my office, and she had this white ashen look on her face. And she made him stand outside my office while she told me what happened. And so what had happened is his good friend had dared him to lick the toilet bowl. And so here she brought him in so I could get on to him, but we were both dying laughing when he was in the room. So I had to act like I was upset with him, when in reality I loved the fact that he met the challenge. And so that's probably the funniest story of my, but there's just lots of great stories. Some of the, like, I'm still in communication. My 4th and 5th year of teaching and coaching was in East Texas. And I had a running back that played for me for 2 years. And we still communicate on Messenger. And he's in his like 40s now. The first people, by the way, the first people I taught are now like 53 years old. So they were in junior high when I started, but I've had lots of stories. The greatest things have been the relationships I've built and some of the great teams I've been able to coach over the years. In girls and boys, high school and junior high, but those, I can't really think of anything right now off the top of my head specifically that stands out, because there were so many good things that happened to me because I decided to educate.
So you've been in both public and private schools. What's the major differences to you?
Private school is the one where you can be more selective, and that sounds uppity, and it's not meant to be, but you can choose people that fit your culture. Charter schools are similar to that in that, but the parents are driving a distance to pick out a specialized school for their kids. So it's very close to being a private school. It's in between a private and a public school. So let's say public school, it gets less state money than regular public schools, but it's, I've been in it the last 3 years and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Private, but public, I've said this and I've thought this through because I've been asked this many times. We homeschooled our oldest kids, and we homeschooled probably for about the first 6 years. So we homeschooled several of our kids. I taught in public school and coached in public school. I did both in private school, and I was an administrator and headmaster in private. And now I'm an administrator, and I taught in charter schools. There's a purpose for each one. Everybody can't go to a private school because of the money, and it's nobody's fault. It's just the reality of the situation. And everybody can't drive to a charter school. They can't have the transportation to spread their kids all over. And public schools can be good or bad, just like any other school. It's all according to the leadership and the teachers. And then we also homeschooled our first 6 or 7 years of education. So even while I was coaching, teaching in public school, we were homeschooling some of our children. So all of them have a purpose, and so I would never criticize any of the 4 types of education. I think they all have a purpose, and they can all be good and bad.
So you've been doing this for 38 years, or 35 years. How long do you plan on keeping going?
I've told people kiddingly, but probably in reality, I'm going to die in my office.
Wow.
Or, but I don't think I can retire, because in private school, yes, it's hard to build up a retirement because they don't pay as much usually. And so you don't have any kind of retirement. And plus we decided to have as many kids as God wanted us to have, so we had 8 kids. So we just weren't able to save money, so I'll be teaching and coaching probably until I die. But the truth of the matter is, if I were home, I'd be miserable. I'm very task oriented, and so I have to stay busy. I have to feel like I'm doing something worthwhile to make me feel good, to even have a good day. That's one reason. I'm jealous of some of my friends, including you, who have retired, and I admire that you stayed in one profession for so long and then retired. And so that bothers me that some of my good friends are retired. But then when I think in reality, the reality of the situation is that I'd be miserable and my wife would be miserable. And if the wife is not happy, no one's happy. And so I think it's been best for me to stay in. And God's blessed me. I absolutely love what I do. I'm a assistant principal at a charter school in Arlington, and I absolutely love what I do. I love the people I work with. I love the students. I'm able to get close to them, which I've always wanted to do. So I think God has blessed me at the end of my career to allow me to do this. And I just had another thought, Richard. You asked me earlier, what were some of the hard things about education? Well, I've dealt with depression since I was 16 years old. And so I dragged this along my whole career. And so to do what I did, to teach, to coach, to administrate, whatever I did, I had to fight off depression almost every single morning. Only in the last year have I not had depression. I haven't had depression. And so I think that's a God thing, because there's no reason all of a sudden I don't have to fight depression anymore. And I love my job. I love where we live. So my life has come full circle. I've been married for 38 years. I've been in education for about 35 years. And now we've raised 8 kids. I don't have depression. And so I live a really good life right now. I'm very fortunate. And we don't have financial worries or money worry. We don't have a bad money situation. So I feel good about my life.
Speak a little bit about Susan and how she's helped you with your career.
Well, my wife, she was a Kegel before she married me. And Kegel is a German name. And Germans, I've studied this because I also dated a girl in high school that was Dietz, that was a German. And they are very solid. They're not too up, they're not too low. They stay the same every day. My wife has never had a bad day in her life unless I gave her the bad day by my rising and falling emotions. I'm a very emotional creature, and my wife is very solid. And so there's no doubt in my mind at all that had I not married her, I could not have been successful. And God would not have been able to bless me. He put her in my life, hopefully me in her life, to bless each other. But she was the exact kind of wife I needed. And so she's held me steady when there were times when I was going through deep, dark depression and felt like I didn't want to go on anymore. It's my wife that kept me going.